what is your message to a lot of women today? What are your thoughts on that? As far as what do you say to some of these women who aren't willing to, like we said earlier, as you say, get on the same program I'm on? What do you
Well,
say to some?
well, I say this with love to the women. You're not sexy, I'm sexy. You're not desirable, I'm desirable. You're not beautiful, I'm beautiful. And you must show me. And because you're going after my last name and you're going after my ring, so you've got to show me why I need to give that to you. And if you
Mm,
choose not to want to do that, that's fine. You could just get replaced. There's one waiting, hoping you don't do it. So uh it's a thing where a lot of women out there, they just don't have any structure. But a wild horse can be wild until you put them in a barn with a tame horse. You can,
mhm.
a woman can be trained. And I hate to say the word train because I know that's a catchword that makes women angry, but women are trainable just because the same woman that's,
I think women are trainable if they're open to be trainable.
well, let me
It,
give you an example. They have to, okay, let's say the woman has an attitude outside the house, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If she goes to work, is she not trainable? Is she not trained? Is she
Well,
not
the thing that there's a reason why when they go to work they're trainable, because there's a paycheck at the end of the at the end.
and
So then they're relying on the men to be that paycheck, which I have a
no,
serious
But
problem.
no, but
but
it's one thing.
see, I think you're right. I agree with you, but it's I see it from a different perspective. Like you were saying, like you're not beautiful, I'm beautiful, or
Mhm.
you'll learn just if there's a paycheck involved.
Well,
And
no,
I think the two go together in terms
It
of
is, but I
like
think women
we
today view it
are
as there has to be an incentive.
hold
There
up.
has to be an incentive for some women, right?
So I think yes and no. There has to
Okay.
be an incentive, but the idea is we're not considering ourselves to be the incentive, which
Exactly.
is sort of the
Exactly.
whole
I
point.
agree with that. I agree with that.
We need to, and this is like you said, you're not beautiful, I'm beautiful. It's like, yo, I am a catch. I know what I'm worth, I know what I bring to the table, and I know you want something from
That's
me.
very well
I
said.
mean,
Very well said.
I don't like quoting this guy, but Kevin Samuels. It's like, hey, you want something from us at the end of the day, whether it's a relationship, whether it's marriage, whatever the case may be. A woman wants that, and we have
Mhm.
access to that. At the end of the day, it's our prerogative whether we end up in a relationship or not, right?
right.
Yeah.
Well, you said there's paycheck, but there's another side. So you're thinking paycheck. There's another side as if you don't do what you need to do, you're gonna get fired. And I'm on the fire
Correct.
side. I'm not.
You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
I'm on the fire dismiss side because I'm opportunity. I'm not option. So
Mhm.
I'm giving you the opportunity to be with me versus the guy that thinks paycheck. He's trying to barter something by giving her money to get her to do something that she will automatically do when she realizes that he's actually standing in.
Mm.
I mean, if you think
Mm.
of it from even if you think of it from an employer-employee standpoint, right? Like, yes, you can fire the person, but at the end of the day, the employer is hiring the person for their skills.
Yeah.
They bring something to the table.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. Like, you can, like, yes, if you don't do your job, you get fired, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So, but if the employer also writes the wrong job description down and they don't get the job done that they want done,
Well,
then that's on the employer, right? It's not on the employee. So
right, but
it's go ahead, go ahead.
no, I know, but that's the thing. See, a good business will have
Exactly,
would have structure. So
exactly.
it would never be, and then that's where I talk about men. Men have structure.
Yeah, yeah. hmm
A man will tell a woman from the get-go, I'm a drama-free man. I don't, if you bring drama to my life, you're gone. If you raise your voice higher than mine,
Mm.
you're gone. If you disrespect, matter of fact, you're gone. Matter of fact, you have to do a lot to stay. But I will not tolerate anything other than respect. And that's just the demand. That's real men.
And it is funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that. And we'll get to the last point. It's funny you mentioned that because before I got married, before I met my wife, that was something I was very afraid to voice. And then when I voiced it, she saw that and respected me even more. for even saying that, to laying down my boundaries and laying down the groundwork to say, and a lot of those boundaries and groundwork that I'm laying down is stuff that I've dealt with and should have said probably 10 years ago, and I wouldn't have wasted so much time. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what a lot of men are doing. They're wasting time.
But that goes back to, go ahead, go ahead.
I said, well, they're not wasting time. They choose to waste time.
True.
Everything's a choice. They choose to do it. It's just they choose it. There's no excuse for an individual not wanting to work on himself, but nobody can force him to do anything that he doesn't want to do.
Correct.
But
So
that
what
goes
kind of? Oh,
back
go ahead, Jay.
to
Sorry.
that goes back to what we've been saying since this thing started. Like,
Yeah.
set down your rules, draw your lines, and stick
Yeah.
to them. If you're
Mhm.
not going to stick to your lines, nobody else is going to.
Right.
And
Yep.
if you don't stick to your lines, and then you end up in a situation that you don't like, the only person you can blame is yourself. Whereas there are still going to be people who try to take advantage of you, who try and do you dirty. That's because people are people. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. But all
Right.
you can control is you. All you can control is your lines, your rules, your whatever you want to call it. And the results you get at that point is something that you can take ownership of, and you can be accountable for.
But that's why I tell guys not to stick to their lines if they don't know any game, because their lines are blurred. They have blurred lines. They don't really have solid lines because there's no mentorship to show them what actual game is. They think game is buying a woman a dinner or manipulating her or doing those PUA tactics and stuff. That's not game. And until they meet somebody that actually has game to show them that, again, get your puzzle pieces and start to communicate with yourself, then they're not going to understand where it starts. Everything starts with game. And like you say, you're right, there are lines, but their lines are always going to be blurred because they don't believe in themselves.